great to have you. Today marks a year, exactly a year, since Boko Haram militants captured, kidnapped 273 schoolgirls from their dormitory in the government secondary school of Chibok in Borno State in northeastern Nigeria. More than 200 of those girls are still missing. Since the night of the abduction, our Hausa service has been a leader in covering the story. The service and the VOA News Center have reported it on every available platform in both Hausa and English, including radio, TV, the web, and the Hausa service's dynamic 24/7 mobile stream, Dandalin VOA. And that coverage is getting attention. Over the last 6 months, our Hausa sites have been averaging 4 million page views per week. In addition to their outstanding coverage of the story of the Chibok girls, I would also point out that the Hausa service and VOA correspondents have provided other first-rate coverage of the Boko Haram menace. At great risk to his own life, Hausa service reporter Ibrahim Ahmed traveled to northern Nigeria and spent more than a month covering Boko Haram's attacks and the resulting devastation of towns and villages in that region. Ibrahim also got interviews with some of the Chibok girls who had escaped. So VOA has stayed with this story over the past year, and I can assure you we're going to stay with it going forward. We're going to keep covering the story and bringing attention to it with events like this one. I want to thank Negusi Mengesha, the director of the Africa Division, and especially Leo Kayan for his Hausa service for hosting this discussion. But first, it is my great honor to introduce our two keynote speakers, our two main speakers today. Please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat California, who's a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee and ranking member on the Subcommittee on Africa, Global Health, Global Human Rights, and International Organizations, and Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, ranking member of the House Subcommittee on Workforce Protection. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us here today. I might point out both of these distinguished legislators have played key roles, leading roles in promoting efforts to free the Chibok girls. So thank you both for taking time to speak to us today, and let me get Leo back up here to introduce you more appropriately, more fully. Is that how we're going to handle things, right? Or you're going to introduce Jamila, right? Okay, please. Come on up, Leo. Thank you.
Salah just arrived. We'll introduce you in the course of this seminar. Jamila's choice was deliberate. Jamila is one of the youngest staff of the Voice of America Hausa Service. She's a Nigerian, and she knows this topic very well. Jamila, take over.
Good morning. We're ecstatic to have you here. Unfortunately, it's a very sad day for us, but I'm so glad that we're celebrating and marking this year with everyone here because you care. It's been a year, exactly 365 days, since over 200 women, young women we have to say because they're between the ages of 16 and 18, have been kidnapped, all because they chose to get educated. They know that education is their weapon, yet the Boko Haram group decided that it is not worthy for a woman to actually get educated. Today, it's been a year, a very painful year for so many parents, but also for Nigerians as well, because it actually marks and proves the incompetency not only for the government to tackle Boko Haram, but to protect its citizens. As you would see now, this is how, when, and where it happened.
The girls were snatched from this town on April 14th, and families were devastated. More than 50 girls escaped by jumping out of vehicles and running through the bush, but most remain missing.
It was about 11 p.m. Men in uniform came to the school and took us away. I don't know where they took us. It was somewhere in the bush.
Within weeks, activists from across Nigeria and around the world mobilized, demanding the rescue of the girls. And after 5 years of insurgency and thousands of deaths, the outside world took notice of Islamist militants known as Boko Haram. Amid the international attention, Boko Haram released this video of the girls. In it, Abubakar Shekau, who claims to lead the group, threatens to sell the girls as wives and kidnap more women if imprisoned Boko Haram members are not released. Some Nigerian officials have said they won't negotiate with Boko Haram, lest more girls get kidnapped. Some analysts say the government needs to swap the girls for prisoners if they will ever be freed. Femi Odekunle is a professor of criminology and social sciences at the University of Abuja.
And I believe that the government should go out of its way to make deals with the Boko Haram people or their representatives to get the girls released. Because after all, if the girls are released, you could still go ahead and pursue. But militarily, if you try to attack them, you are likely to get the girls killed. You won't get the Boko Haram. You won't get your girls.
But if the girls are rescued or released, analysts say, they are likely to go home traumatized, potentially victims of sexual violence. At a daily vigil in the Nigerian capital, Hadiza Bala Usman, one of the organizers of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, says there is no doubt that the girls have already suffered trauma.
Being held by terrorists is a traumatic experience. So indeed, the girls would be traumatized to the extent that you're held against your will, you're held by terrorists, you're snatched away from your school, you were snatched away at gunpoint.
Protesters say their rallies are met with increasing distrust from the government, and after 2 months, neither Boko Haram nor Nigerian security forces have given any indication that the girls are any closer to coming home. Heather Murdoch for VOA News.
I would like to first invite Congresswoman Karen Bass. She serves on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, where she is ranking member of the Subcommittee on Africa, Global Health, Global Human Rights, and International Organizations. It is my great pleasure to have you here and to speak regarding the plight of these girls.
Good morning, everyone. I am happy to be here with you today, but I do have to say that this is a day that all of us take a deep breath and just reflect on the fact that it has been 365 days that these girls have been missing. It's hard for me to refer to them as young women, because between the ages of 16 and 18, you're still really a girl who only wanted to be educated, and going to school resulting in them being kidnapped and held, none of us knowing exactly where they are, what the conditions are that they face. I'm very happy that there is a young woman who is here with us today who was able to escape. But as I sat next to her these few minutes, knowing how you must feel, especially watching the video and seeing your friends there and wondering where they might be. My heart on that day went out for all of the parents and the family members and the community, what they must have felt knowing that these girls were kidnapped and not knowing where they were. It sparked worldwide outrage that continues to today. And I think it's so important in our world where in any given hour there can be so many stories that take place that change our attention, that it's so important that VOA is having this event today, acknowledging the fact that the girls are still missing, because no matter what else is going on in the world, we must remember their plight. The response from Congress was swift. We had hearings. A number of us from the Congressional Black Caucus went to the Nigerian embassy, met with officials there, held press conferences. The leader of the effort in the House of Representatives, you'll hear from in a minute, Frederica Wilson, who no matter what we were doing in Congress on a daily basis, made sure that all of us remembered the girls. And anyone that knows or works with Frederica Wilson knows that when she takes an issue on, we all better stand up at attention because she's going to make sure that she keeps all of our feet to the fire. The president responded. President Obama sent troops to Chad to help finding the girls. The U.S. government sent military intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The First Lady did a press statement and joined in the effort to hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. The response of the world continues, and we have to make sure that that's the case. There has been a change in leadership in Nigeria, and I hope that that change in leadership will send a message and spark a whole renewed effort to bring back the girls. We have to make sure that we fight to recover them, but at the same time, we have to do everything we can to end the reign of terror of Boko Haram. Everybody knows that since the girls were kidnapped, many other Nigerian girls and boys have been kidnapped or killed for committing the crime of wanting an education. While we fight to recover the girls, we have to make sure that in the future we do everything we can to fight for, defend, and protect all young people who want an education. Everybody wants to improve their circumstances. People want to do better in life. And we should celebrate that and promote that and do everything that we can, because we don't want what happened to these girls to send a signal of fear that people will not continue to pursue their education. I'm so glad that you are here with us, patients, and want you to know that everything that we can do to support you while you're here and the other girls that were able to escape and survive, please don't hesitate to call on us. I know you know Congresswoman Wilson, so please let us know anything that you need in any way that we can be supportive to you and the other girls that are here specifically while we continue the fight to rescue the other girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that delightful and inspiring message. We'd like to hear from Congresswoman Frederica Wilson now. She has spearheaded an aggressive campaign to win freedom for the Chibok girls who are still in captivity. Shortly after the abductions, she pushed for passage of a House bill condemning Boko Haram and urging President Obama to immediately strengthen United States security, law enforcement, and intelligence cooperation with appropriate Nigerian forces to rescue the girls. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson.
Please note that I'm wearing my Bring Back Our Girls t-shirt. Good morning. And I'm very honored to take a part in this important event hosted by Voice of America and joined by my wonderful colleague, such a leader, Congresswoman Karen Bass, as well as the esteemed panelists. I'm known as the lobbyist for all children. I have not forgotten the more than 200 schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram from the Chibok Government School Secondary Girls' School in Nigeria. Today, as we all know, April 14th, marks the one-year anniversary of this horrific abduction. When I learned about the schoolgirls' abduction, it was like the terrorists had taken a part of me. I am a school principal by trade, and to think that they were kidnapped from school was devastating to me. These girls were trying to get an education and build themselves up. All children deserve an education in America and all over the world. They were robbed of all of their potential and promise in an instant because Boko Haram translates to Western education is a sin. The abduction actually took me back to 2000 when a little girl in my community named Rilya Wilson disappeared after being placed in foster care by the state of Florida. I think it is unconscionable that we could just lose a child, and it hurt me so much that I vowed to never let it happen again. I couldn't bring Rilya back, but I put pressure on the state to reorganize the Department of Children and Families and change all procedures. Getting through the process reopened the wombs every day. We sat through hearing after hearing and heard testimony from person after person entrusted with Rilya's care admit that they didn't know where she was. The abduction of the Nigerian schoolgirls took me back to the loss of Rilya. It took me back to knowing that there was so much promise and possibility that could be lost. It made me consider that there might be entire generations that would suffer because of the loss of these future sisters, daughters, and mothers who could have used their education to educate, to empower, and to inspire their families to go further in life. One lost child is too many. So you can imagine the pain I've suffered since the abduction of the Nigerian schoolgirls. It was like we had lost over 200 Rilya Wilsons. I couldn't stand by while these girls remained in captivity. I immediately filed 2 resolutions that were approved by the entire House of Representatives. 4 days later, I was on a plane to Nigeria. I traveled to Nigeria with a bipartisan group, 3 of us. We went to see how we could hasten their freedom. I met with some of the brave young women who escaped, including Patience, who is here with us today. And I was deeply encouraged by their enthusiasm and by their pain and willingness to share. I also met with their families, the families of the missing girls who were still missing, and their anguish was overwhelming. Fathers were crying, mothers were crying. They shared stories with me. It was tremendous. I met with the organizers of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, who have made liberating the schoolgirls their mission. Their goal is to call attention to the atrocities committed by Boko Haram. And they asked me, Congresswoman Wilson, please carry on and spread the work in the U.S. by tweeting hashtag Bring Back Our Girls, which I have done every day since then. Our Twitter campaign has thousands of followers, gathered major supporters, including First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, Alicia Keys, and Malala. Take out your phones and follow me on Twitter, Rep Wilson, and post the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. We want you to do that every day. Enlist in our Twitter army. Your assignment is to tweet daily so that the world will not forget the missing girls. And when they not forget the missing girls, they not forget Nigeria and what's happening there.
I'm sorry, I can't take the call right now.
I have also made numerous speeches, participated in committee hearings and classified briefings on Boko Haram, and attended rallies and other events. I organized my colleagues to speak on the House floor and even picketed an event featuring President Goodluck Jonathan on behalf of the Chibok girls with one goal in mind, to bring back our girls. In fact, I'm wearing this outfit because I will be speaking on the floor at noon today using the world and urging the world to tweet Bring Back Our Girls, as I do often. I have confronted the issue legislatively. I sponsored the Boko Haram Disarmament and Northeast Nigeria Recovery Act, which calls for the development of a comprehensive national strategy to counter Boko Haram. Well, unfortunately, today, we all know that Boko Haram's reign of terror continues. They have terrorized all segments of Nigerian society. They have pillaged entire villages and spilled over into neighboring countries. Approximately 1.5 million people have been displaced from their homes and are being forced to live as refugees, including thousands of children who have been separated from their families. Some of these children have seen their parents murdered in front of their eyes and their siblings abducted. Boko Haram continues carrying out attacks against schools on a frequent basis. Over 300 schools have been destroyed. As a result, more school-aged children in Nigeria are not attending school than anywhere else in the entire world. Boko Haram has slaughtered thousands of civilians and perpetrated unspeakable horrors. They are physically and psychologically abusing children, forcing them to get married, forcing religious conversions, and have resorted to using women and girls as human bombs and using children as human shields. And the nightmare scenario of Boko Haram forges alliances with other terrorist organizations, namely ISIS, who they have been calling out to, and ISIS has responded. The marriage of Boko Haram and ISIS is a marriage made in hell, and we have to stay on the case. However, there are promising signs. Last month, Nigeria experienced its first peaceful transfer of power to an opposition party since the end of military rule 15 years ago. The March election of Mr. Muhammadu Buhari and landslide victories of his all-progressive Congress party in Nigeria's House and Senate is a sign of the country's improved political development. This past weekend, the APC also won the majority of governorships in state elections. Now, let us hope. Nigeria has the opportunity to turn the page on this situation and finally begin to take the political will, the steps necessary to rescue the kidnapped girls and to eliminate Boko Haram and provide safety for all Nigerians. The international community must continue our efforts to hold the Nigerian government accountable. They must be held accountable for these goals. Another good sign is that some of the girls who escaped are now in the United States. And I've met many of them, most of them, all of them, taken pictures with them, hugged them, welcomed them to Washington and to my office. And I'd like to thank Mr. Emmanuel Ogibi and his organization, Jubilee Campaign USA, which also assists the girls with completing their education in a safe environment. I donated money to this important fund and asked others to also donate. Philanthropy makes the heart feel full, so I ask you to please give. Give to this fund to bring these girls to the United States and put them in school. They want to complete their education. That's all they have said to me. I want to go to school. And we, as an international community, must help them do that. So all that you can do to give to this fund, donate, speak to your neighbors and friends, especially Nigerian nationals, to help these girls. In just a few minutes, Patience will share her harrowing ordeal. Her story is moving, but it also provides hope for the girls still held by Boko Haram. Patience's story reminds us that the terrorists did not only take little girls, but they also stole their dreams, their hopes, and aspirations. And we're trying to build patience back up. We need your help. Currently, I'm working with the Foreign Affairs Committee on a resolution that condemns Boko Haram, asks for more accountability from the Nigerian government, and urges U.S. support to fight Boko Haram. I will also continue to tweet until our girls are returned home. And I'm hoping that all of you, in the sound of my voice, will tweet. Hashtag bring back our girls. Hashtag join Rep. Wilson. Our girls will not and must not be forgotten. And when we say our girls, we're talking about everyone who has been a victim of Boko Haram. All of the elected officials, all of the mothers, all of the fathers, all of the brothers, and of course the girls who have taken the hardest brunt of all of this. Let's work together to reclaim their dreams, restore their hope, and rebuild their aspirations. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the people of Nigeria. God bless the Chibok girls, and God bless America. Thank you.
That was very inspirational. You inspire me. I am one of those girls. And I do understand the power of education. And as you will see right now, we have one of those girls who also understand that her dreams and aspirations were shortened, but luckily she has a chance to start all over.
So, in har ma kana da karatu, in ba an har ma baki da karatu ko an rubuta miki cewa gobe za mu zo mu kashe ki, ki dauka bar ki karanta ba sai ki zo na ki jira abu ya same ki.
Education has a lot of benefit. If you don't know how to read and someone sends you a note saying they're going to kill you, you will not be able to know whether to run for your life or stay. If you're educated, you can get a good job and earn a salary that enables you to help others and help yourself. In Nigeria, they think it's better to educate a boy than a girl because if you invest in a girl's education, it ends up with her getting married.
Shi kashin shi timane. Shi babban mutum ne amma yana da hankali kuma.
My role model is Governor Kashim Shettima. I met him in Bono. He's very humble and likes to help people. He uses his wealth wisely, and I hope to be like him.
To a yanda yake din ya mai kyau, kuma yana da abu, to yayi min kyau yanda yake amfani da nashi. Shine ni ma nace to in har ma zan samu zan yi.
That is Mercy. She's actually in school here, and as you can see, she is very happy where she is. She has dreams, goals, and aspirations. She actually wants to be a doctor after she's done with school. I'd like to first introduce you to our panelists here, and we also have some on the phone and also via Skype. The first panelist is Emmanuel Ogibi. He's an international human rights lawyer specializing in Africa and currently practices as a special legal consultant on Nigeria. The second person is Ms. Sandra Epinyong. She is the president of Zumunta USA, the organization that symbolizes that our strength as Nigerians is in our diversity. Our diversity, oh, that's you? Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Dr. Ibrahim Salo, I apologize, Salo. You are the president of Zumunta. Yes, and you do a great job in trying to make sure that our strength is in our diversity. We're delighted to have you here. And then the third person is Ms. Sandra Epinyong. She is the founder of Empowering Women, Empowering Voices, a nonprofit organization geared toward improving the lives of women in the United States and around the world. On the phone, we have Hajia Asabi. She's very important to this discussion because she is the principal of Chibok girls. We would like to hear her experience, and she currently has a granddaughter that is still in captive. We also have Ibrahim Abdullahi. We all need to thank Ibrahim because he started the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. He actually went on Twitter after he heard Miss Obi Ezekwele? Yes, Kwesile. And he tweeted it as a cry from a father. He couldn't understand. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know who to call. He just went and said, hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. And we also have Mr. Doug Weed. He's actually here in the U.S. I met Doug when I met some of these girls that are in school here, and he inspires me because he took interest in their drive, in their education, and sponsored over 5 of these girls to study here. We also have Barrister Yvonne Idahosa. She's a lawyer in New York, and this is quite a passionate drive. She has a drive for Nigerian girls and African girls in general, all girls, to have access to education. For our first question, as Congresswoman Wilson accurately pointed out, there is a transformative power in education. Boko Haram literally means Western education is a sin. I would like first to hear from Ms. Asabe Kwalumba from Nigeria. I would like to first understand how she must have felt that day when all of these girls were under her watch, yet their dreams were cut short. Do we have Haji Asabe? Okay. We'd like to hear now from Manuel Ogibi, who's played a pivotal role in bringing those girls here, and what your input is regarding the power of education.
Yes, thank you very much for having us here. And I want to thank our champion in the Congress, Congresswoman Wilson, for her role. Let's give her a round of applause as she goes. Let me, first of all, thank Voice of America Hausa Service for their role in helping me bring 10 of these girls to the United States. When I was looking for contacts with the families, I reached out to Grace Alheri, and she put me in touch with the chief of that community. And that was how I was able to begin to work with them to bring girls to America. So they have played a significant role. Let's give VOA a round of applause for that role. I do want to mention that we are here today because different people came together to make this happen. Patience is not able to speak today because of her circumstances, but a snippet of her story is that when she jumped out of that truck in the forest and was injured, her colleague who jumped with her walked into the forest and found a Fulani man, this is a headsman, a shepherd, and said to him, "We need help." And he said to her, "I'm sorry, I can't help you because the terrorists will come and get me." And she said to him, "If you don't help us, no one will." And this shepherd took his bike into the forest and put her on his bike and drove her to the nearest city where they could get transportation. And that just epitomizes to me how different people have come together to be able to help those girls who escaped. I think the work I've done with the 10 girls who are here in the U.S. now is to draw attention to the ones that we've forgotten, because true, we're demanding the others to come out, but the ones who escaped, for some reason, fell through the cracks. When I met her in June with a congressional delegation, I was stunned to find out that after 2 months of medical care for her broken legs, she couldn't go for a follow-up visit because she didn't have money. I was stunned to find out she hadn't been interviewed by the authorities. And so that was when we developed the idea that we should try and find a way to help these girls go back to school. But let me point out one thing I just found out this week, which was stunning to me. And that is that I found out that that school was originally built by an American church called Church of the Brethren many years ago. I didn't know that. And then it was taken over by the government and became a government school. So there is an American connection that we don't realize. But about girl education, let me wrap up my thoughts here by saying three things. One, we have in Nigeria the first female Chief Justice of Nigeria was a lawyer from the north, a woman from northern Nigeria, who finished law school in 1967. So northern Nigerian women have made their mark historically in Nigeria by their education. Now, her classmate or her schoolmate, who is the first female medical doctor from northern Nigeria, is my mother. So I have seen the impact of educating northern women literally in my life. I think the first person I met was a northern woman who went to school. But thirdly, just this past week in northern Nigeria, a northern Nigerian lawyer and female senator right now is on track to be the first female governor in Nigeria. We're not talking about the South, we're talking about the North. And so what Boko Haram is doing is trying to regress us 1 or 2 centuries backward. And no parent should send their child to school for the child to be abducted and turned into a sex slave or anything of the sort. So thank you very much for providing us this opportunity to highlight this very important issue.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Sandra?
I remember exactly where I was a year ago. I was at work, and when the news came, I broke down because my father, he came here to pursue a better education as a young man. He worked for the World Bank, and at some point, he decided to have me have the Nigerian experience by growing up in Nigeria, doing my high school there. And it happened, I went to a boarding school in Benin City. And I broke down because, for me, I imagined that could have been me. My boarding school was far away from, we lived in Lagos, and my boarding school was in Benin. And I began to wrestle with the thought of what would have happened if they had called my dad. I'd been kidnapped. And so education has always been a very big part of who Nigerians are, whether it's in the North or in the South. And so we understand that the threat of Boko Haram is the threat that Nigeria has the possibility of advancing so much more than where she is. And there are so many young women and even young boys that pursue education with all that they have. And I'm so grateful to your organization and to others who have shown interest. Thank you so much. This is dear to us. We want our girls back. And we know that we can't do it alone. If we all have a collective voice, things can happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's powerful. Thank you. This is the perfect time to actually hear from Ibrahim Abdullahi, who started the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. So if you could just talk to us a little bit about the power of technology and how we're still keeping the spirit of the girls alive. All right. Is Hajia Sabe available now?
Yes, I'm very.
I'm delighted to talk to you. How are you?
That's fine.
How was the elections? Because I remember you went to Chibok to vote.
Yes, I went to Chibok, but Chibok is fine.
Yes, that's good. You guys really did a good job. We're proud of you. I'm not sure if you heard the question. We wanted to know how you must have felt on that day when most of these girls, over 200 of them under your watch, the dreams were cut short and they were taken. Can you just walk through your experience with us?
Thank you very much. First of all, I have to thank the Voice of America for remembering the Chibok community at this particular day. 14th April 2014, I think, is the difficult day that Chibok people have experienced, and they don't want to experience this thing again. On 14th April 2014, 276 students were adopted in my school. When I heard that around 11:30 p.m., I was shocked that I couldn't sleep till daybreak. And since from that day, 57 students were able to escape from the captors, whereby 219 students are still with the captors. And since from that day, there is no any news or anything that we heard about the whereabouts of these students. In fact, the Chibok community is bitter about this incident. But up to now, neither the federal government nor anybody else that says they know where these girls are. At the beginning, Prince Olakolode said that they know where the girls are. We feel reluctant that we are happy that these girls will be back. Since then, we have nothing about them. And we even lost some of the parents due to blood pressure. Some were killed during the second attack. Neither the girls nor the parents. In fact, as the school principal, when I reached Chibok, I recall all events that make me sad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only person that knows where these girls are and know their condition. And we are praying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one day will touch the mind of these people, that they will remember God and bring back these girls. Up to now, we are still pleading to the federal government and the entire world that we should continue emphasizing bring back our girls so that these girls will be rescued. Because, in fact, Chibok community lost these students because they are the leaders of tomorrow. They are mothers. So, in education, we say if you train a woman or educate a woman, that means you are educating the nation. But if you educate a man, you educate an individual. So I think this Boko Haram should remember that these women are the people that will produce future leaders, and they themselves will be leaders. Since women are competing now for governorship election and presidential election, which means all area women, regardless of gender, women are supposed to be enrolled in any offices. So this Boko Haram should know that all what they are using is through education that they got it. The car they are riding, the radio, the handset, and everything that they are using, even the guns they are using. Without education, those things will not be there. But we are still appealing to federal government to at least do something so that this case should be rescued.
Thank you very much. That's a powerful feedback. We're with you, and we're praying along with you. And I understand your granddaughter is still being held by Boko Haram. So we're in this together.
Yes.
For our next video. Sorry. Okay. Our next video will showcase to you, like she just concluded saying, the power of education, the empowerment that it grants a girl.
If I have scholarship.
If I have a scholarship, I want to continue school in America and study chemistry, biology, physics. I want to be a medical doctor because I want to help people. I'm inspired by all hospital staff. I like how they work hard to help people, which makes me want to work in a hospital to help others as well. I want to practice medicine anywhere, but I would prefer to practice in Nigeria so I can help Nigeria. My dad has always told me that he will support me to continue my education after secondary school. I would like to tell my parents that I'm grateful to God and grateful to those that are helping me. As you can see, I found a school and I'm still in school. So please, pray for me.
As you can see, they have one thing in common. They all want to help. They all want to contribute in one way or another. And one thing they say is that the person actually that helped them to be where they are today, whom we have the pleasure of having via Skype, Mr. Doug Weed, he's actually one of their inspirations. Hello, Mr. Doug? Hello?
Hello, Jamila. Doug Weed here. Good to hear your voice.
Oh, how are you?
Great. Let me make sure I've got the volume turned up. Okay. Good to hear from you.
I just wanted for you to share with us how you got involved with the girls in with Nigeria and how your school is doing a fantastic job in providing them with another chance, giving them a chance to actually revive their goals and their dreams.
Well, I watched with the whole world the announcement that they had been abducted. And I saw that video of the Boko Haram leaders saying, "I've got your girls," and laughing at the whole world. And I felt so utterly helpless. There was nothing I could do, nothing that anybody could do. It was just a complete emptiness in my stomach. And then a month or so later, when I got a phone call and said, "We understand you're running a boarding school in Oregon. Would you take some of the escaped Chibok girls?" I said, yes. I was amazed that the story would intersect and I would have a chance to do something. I must say that the girls love you, Jamila. Jamila turned up early in their lives as a translator, and now they don't need her. They don't need her translation because they can speak English, but they still need her as a friend. And when the girls went into counseling, we hired the best licensed counselor that we could find. She's a wonderful counselor. And when the girls went into counseling, they immediately needed Jamila to translate for them their innermost fears and hurts and thoughts. And that healing process really began. And so they love her. She's a permanent fixture in their life and will be a friend they will never forget as long as they live. But the girls are doing great. They're in sports. They're on the track team. They are into academics. They study very hard. They get up early and study. It's been quite a challenge for us as a school because we had no money. The Jubilee Foundation gave us some. Dr. Rand Paul, the U.S. Senator from Kentucky, gave us a donation, and Dr. Wade Mumm from Southeastern University gave us a donation. Other than that, 90% of the money our teachers and we ourselves at the school are having to absorb. And our teachers, you have to understand, we're a private boarding school, so we get no government money, we get nothing, and our teachers earn about $20,000 a year in salary, so they get food stamps from the government. But we told our teachers and staff before we took the girls, we said, look, you know, there's no money here. We're going to have to buy the textbooks, the toothbrushes, the pillowcases, the clothes, the food, the blankets, everything will have to absorb all of this. Are you ready for that? And unanimously, without exception, everyone on staff said yes. This is why we exist. We were born for this moment. We're a school that's 90 years old, and we've existed year after year after year just to be there to catch these girls. So we think that's our mission. And they still have a lot of trauma in their life. Our counselor is trying to help them. People who go through abduction or rape have a sense of loss. They are easily dominated by other people, and they have to learn how to make their own decisions, small decisions at first, and they have to be taught how to once again reassert themselves without fear. They have nightmares. There's no question they've been through quite a trauma, and but the loneliness is passing because of the students. We have students from 30 countries, and they've just put their arms around them. If I may, I'll read you a letter from our students that they wrote. Tonight they will light 219 candles for the girls who are still lost. And this is the letter that was written by the escapees from Boko Haram and their fellow students from Moscow, from Beijing, from all over the world. This is what they wrote. To the girls still held captive, you may think that you are forgotten, but you are mistaken. We have never stopped thinking of you, never stopped praying for you, and never stopped loving you. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. And one day the whole world will celebrate your freedom. Someday people everywhere will say of any lost and hopeless cause, don't give up, be brave, remember the Chibok girls. Remember how they finally came home. We will be waiting for you with open arms. You are not alone. So that's the message from Canyonville Christian Academy and from the Chibok girls, those who jumped from the truck, two who were actually in the Boko Haram camp, who escaped from the camp. And they are happy, they are learning mathematics and world history, and they are getting an education that will empower them to make a difference and a great contribution in life.
Thank you very much, Doug. This brings me to the next question for you, Dr. Ibrahim. How exactly do you see Nigeria translating this collectivism nature that America actually has so that we can come together as one nation to help in the terrorism, but also to bring back the missing girls?
Thank you so very much, Madam Moderator. And I would like to thank the Voice of America for organizing this event and the Congresswoman who just left the room for all the energy and passion she has devoted to this cause. I would like to seize this opportunity to thank the United States of America for standing with Nigeria on this very important issue. Me, as the president of the Zumuta USA, have been working on this Boko Haram issue for a long, long time. Only if the government of Nigeria had listened to us. Working with our members here in Washington, D.C., we seek audience with the Secretary of State. That was like 3 or 4 years ago, saying that the Boko Haram issue is not a laughing matter. Why? Because the government of Nigeria seems just do not care. I'm sorry to say this, it's not, when I criticize my country, it's because I want Nigeria to be as any other civilized nation, where the life of people matter, the life of our kids matter. When this Boko Haram issue has been going on, we have been writing press releases, we wrote a lot of documents, not even acknowledgement to say that, okay, we hear what you are saying, we are doing all we can. Then boys were killed during their prayer time at Federal Government College in, was it Yadi in Yobe. After that, Nyanyamoto Park, our government went on a ceremony dancing somewhere in Kano. Then
the Chibok girls happened, I told my members, I said, we have written a lot of press releases. This is not working. Nobody listening to us. Nobody is even reading our press release. Let's go out on the street here in the U.S. and show that we stand and saying to the whole world that women education is a right. Women have the right to have the same education as our boys in Nigeria. And so we working with our president, local chapter president here, Grace Abdul, and my former Zumuta president, who is also working for Voice of America, Aliyu Mustafa. We mobilize our members across the United States and join the U.S. government. I would like to thank also Michelle Obama for her role on this issue. I'm not here in the comfort of my home, my new home here, criticizing Nigeria. I'm here because talking about this because we are all concerned about the lack of no concern for human life. That is why, I have to make this declaration that I did work very, very hard on behalf of the current or the president-elect to make sure there's a change in government because everything has, just gone haywire. We see what happened when the same situation happened in France, and the French government came and rallied the whole world around and did what was required to be done.
Absolutely,
and I would like
Dr.
to also state that I'm here representing Zumuta and not UTC or Sikorsky Aircraft that I work for. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we're delighted to have you here. I would really like to hear from Ibrahim Abdullahi now, because what you just said right now, that shows that technology is actually an amplifier. It's an enabler. So you've sent in notices. You try to communicate through the regular means of communication. It was difficult for them to hear. It took 2 weeks for the Nigerian government to actually respond to the missing girls. So how exactly did technology contribute in making sure that the message gets across the entire global community? Ibrahim Abdullahi?
Hello, Jamila.
Yes, hi. I just wanted you to share with us what was going through your mind when you just took your phone at that very moment and made a hashtag, Bring Back Our Girls.
At the time I tweeted that hashtag on the dark 23rd of April, it was the pain and the depressing mood of the abduction of the girls at that time that forced me to took to Twitter and try to draw the attention of the world and Nigeria in particular, to take action and see that incidents like that didn't happen, and that the girls should be brought back. Because where somebody sent his child to get education, and that child doesn't come back, that in itself is enough to discourage other persons from going to school. And also the insecurity in that area at that time was becoming something worrisome. And I think the world and the whole country should be notified about.
I think we're having poor technical connections here. I'm glad that we actually also have Buki Shonibare, who's representing the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, on the phone. She's currently in Sudan, but I believe her connection is better than Mr. Ibrahim's. Buki?
Hello.
Yes, hi. I just wanted you to explain to us what your role is in the Bring Back Our Girls campaign and how technology enabled you to spread your message.
Okay, I'm a member of the strategic team of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. And in terms of what technology has helped us to achieve in the Bring Back Our Girls campaign would date back to the start of this campaign. When we started the advocacy for the Chibok girls, we had to face out our advocacy to cover, 4 different phases: awareness creation, the action that would come out from understanding the message that we have created from the awareness, and then the result. And after the result, we measure, we evaluate, we improve, and, we sustain that result. So those 4 phases, kind of gave a framework to everything that we were doing in Bring Back Our Girls. However, we spent more time in the first phase, which is the awareness creation. And in doing so, we needed to understand first what's our message. Secondly, who are the receivers? And in determining the receivers, we identified the federal government. We identified basically all the stakeholders: the federal government of Nigeria, the international communities, journalists, citizens of Nigeria, Nigerians in the diaspora, other members of different countries across the world. We needed these different categories of people to get our message and understand it. And then, having identified the message and the receiver, we also needed to understand who will be the convener of that message, who will be the messenger. And then, in having identified the messenger, what medium, and then that will produce a particular output. So in order for this to happen, 2 critical things happen: the social media reach and the on the ground advocacy. Now, on April the 23rd, at the UNESCO event that Obi Ezekwesili talked about Bring Back Our Daughters, Bring Back Our Girls, where Ibrahim Abdullahi, tweeted it as she was saying it. It got the first mention of Bring Back Our Girls on social media. And that in itself marks the beginning of redefinition of how social media can be an important tool to advocacy on any issue whatsoever. Of course, there's been advocacy before then. There's been advocacy after that. But when we assess the traction, and the mileage that the Bring Back Our Girls hashtag was able to achieve, then we can trace it to a number of activities that have gone underground. Thank God for Ibrahim Abdullahi, who made that first tweet. But it went beyond the first tweet, because when we're assessing the impact of social media on advocacy, on issues like this, it's important for us to have something holistic that helps us have a proper strategy. So beyond the fact that Obi Ezekwesili tweeted started the whole social media rage on April the 23rd, it went on like that. On April the 30th, Adiza Bala Usman translated that social media rage into a physical movement. So again, it's to say that it goes beyond just tweeting, or it's just the same thing that we have seen during the elections in Nigeria. People can conveniently sit in the corridors of their homes, and tweet and say, I am going to vote, I am going to do this. But if you don't go out to vote, your 140 words on social media or on Twitter will not do anything. And we can see how that played out technologically in the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. Absolutely. So in terms of putting together what social media was able to help us achieve, we put into consideration the population, our target audience.
Absolutely.
Social media, particularly Twitter, has a population of people who we needed to understand our message. Governments across the world are now on social media. Their Twitter handles, their Facebook pages for a lot of government parastatals, for a lot of presidents across the world, for a lot of stakeholders across the world. We also put into consideration the reach of social media. If we look at the millions of people, social media has been adjusted to be the fourth most populous nation across the world. So it doesn't have to be a physical geographical location. Social media has become a very strong force and tool. We also looked at the audience, not just in the number of audience, but also in the quality of the audience. So social media has now become a convergence point, so much so that we saw a Michelle Obama carrying the placard. A Michelle Obama will not carry a placard and tweet it if she does not understand the impact that would go.
Absolutely,
Ms.
Shoniberry. I admire your passion, and I understand exactly what you're talking about in terms of the convergence between both social media and also physical action. We really appreciate you being here and contributing to this symposium. Due to limited time, I must move on because we have a lot of people that actually do want to contribute. I can see Mr. Ogebe here.
Yes, I just want to quickly share on behalf of Patience, who is not speaking this morning, something she posted this morning. And this is the message that she posted. She said, "Thank you, Jesus, for gifting my life, for rescuing me from the hands of my enemies. I didn't know that I'm going to see this time again, but because of your mercy, I have something to do for you in my life, and that's why you keep me safe and you give me joy in my life. Thank you so much for all that you have done for me in my life. My prayer to you is that you may change Nigeria in Jesus' name. I know you are not the one that I know you are the one that changes everything in this world, and I believe that you said everything bad is going to change to be good. I believe that one day, one time, my sisters, they will escape to come back and serve you. You are the one when Paul did something that is bad. You are the one who changed him from bad to good. I believe that you're going to change Boko Haram too because they don't know you. That's why they're doing something that's bad for your people. Please forgive them. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." This is the message that she posted today. Let's give her a round of applause. I just want to mention that the tragedy for many of these people continue. 5 of the 10 girls who are in the U.S. now have lost family members in the past 2 months. And one of the fathers whose 2 daughters are missing, I just heard this weekend he's lost 2 sons since. So we need to continue to press this issue. And then finally, one clarification, the group that is now taking care of the girls is called World Ebony Network. So you want to note that change. It's no longer Jubilee Campaign, it's World Ebony Network.
Thank you very much, Manuel, for sharing that message. And to Patience, there's also another message from one of your sisters.
I want to be a lawyer and a teacher. I want to help people because I want to be like you. You're able to help people. Therefore, I want to have the opportunity to help people as well. If I have the opportunity to talk to President-elect General Muhammad Buhari, I'd like to ask him to save the girls that are still in the forest so they can come back home and rest. My town is already ruined. My only hope is that they should stop killing us and let us go back to our homes. Let the people go back to their homes. I would like to advise young girls to study hard and work hard so they can help people just like you're doing right now.
So that's her plea, just like you. And we hope that the Nigerian government, at least the newly installed one, hear this and they carry it to the end. It'll be interesting to find out now the solutions. So we know where we are now. We've seen where they've come from. How do we move forward? Just like the way that's correctly stated here, that we need to continue talking about this, but how do we move on? I'd like to invite the barrister Yvonne Idahosa. If you could just shed some light to us in terms of where do we go from here? How do we move on? How do we bring both the West and Nigeria together, not just the West, but the global community together to make sure that we find solution for the plight of the missing girls?
Right, yeah. And, I think that, there's been a lot of focus on education. And this is something, that I've repeated several times because I agree that education is important and every girl is entitled, particularly because I'm an advocate for women and girls. And the majority of our 10.5 million children that are not in school are girls. So I'm definitely an advocate for education. But what I think is important is the idea that the underlying issue is what we really need to focus on, and that's what both the international community and Nigeria can collectively do. And that issue really has to do with the idea that women are less valuable than men, and the fact that society has been created to sort of foster that mentality. And so it's very pervasive in patriarchal societies. And so a lot of my work not just focuses on rehabilitation for women and girls, but really addressing the underlying issue, that sort of antiquated thinking that women are chattel and that, they're property and that they can be carted, off in the middle of the night. And, I think, women have been intentionally rendered vulnerable. And so education on that piece, I think, is really, really important. And so that's, I think, the primary thing that we can start to do to really start to see a change and to prevent these sorts of things from happening. So men really need to be targeted. The way that they view women, the way that they value women, all of that needs to be addressed. And that's the only way, I believe, in connection with empowerment for women and rehabilitation for women, that we'll actually start to see these sorts of crimes decrease. Because until you address the male factor, the male piece of it, the people who are perpetrating most of the crimes against our women and our girls, you're really not going to see the sorts of changes that we would like to see with just empowerment and rehabilitation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your contribution. And now there's also on that line, on that note, there's a message right now from another girl.
To my brave sisters, the kidnapped schoolgirls of Chibok, I look forward to the day I can hug each one of you, pray with you, and celebrate your freedom with your families. Until then, stay strong and never lose hope. You are my heroes. Your sister, Malala.
This was one of the most difficult things I had to do. Just like these girls, I moved to the U.S. for education. I am a mother. I have sisters. I know some of the girls that is not part of the abducted girls, but I know the ones that are also abducted. I understand the power of education. I really hope 365 days has enabled most of you to understand that if you educate a girl, you educate the world. And if you educate a man, you educate one. I would like to open the floor now for any questions to our panelists here or any kind of comments. Thank you very much. Yes, I've seen. Yeah, you can come up here. No, I'm right there.
I got a little emotional with that speech she just made. I had prepared a long speech to make, but at this point, I'm going to just stick to the point of the matter right now. My name is Dr. Rita Makri. I'm the president of Association of Nigerian Women Leaders in Diaspora. Last year, when we heard about this situation, it took me back when I was in secondary school in Nigeria, how I could have been in a dormitory and see someone kidnapped. It was so emotional that we went on TV with someone prayer summit and called both Muslims and Christians. And we held our prayer summit at the Embassy of Nigeria. We did a lot of, walkout campaign, bring back our girls. Even when the president came, we demonstrated, bring back our girls. So to make the end story short, It's really a touching moment to every woman or man, because it could. These are sisters. These are daughters. These are friends.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because we have like 30 seconds left.
You know, so these people really are part and parcel of us. And I'm appealing both the present government and the president-elect to do whatever it takes, whatever, and all concerned citizens, both here in the United States, to help us bring our girls back home.
Thank you so
much.
much.
We love them,
Thank
and
you.
we need them to be part of us here.
Thank you so much. I would like...
Voice of America.
Thank you.
And all of you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
To address this very important issue.
Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of this presentation, but I'd like to first invite our director for the African Division to say a few words.
I think we are having sort of emotional closure. In a way, I was surprised. Emmanuel is a lawyer, human rights lawyer. Sandra, you said you are a minister, responsible for many churches. You are an aviation engineer. Chibok girls have brought you together. Actually, this is happening everywhere. In fact, in Abuja, bring our girls back across ethnic, religious line. They broke that, and they have forged a strong unity to bring those girls back. And I'm a father myself. I have a daughter. Sometimes I really think about those girls. And I say, what would be? It was my girl, my daughter, my baby. It's the most terrible thing that has happened. I'm sorry for getting so much emotional about it. People are in despair. Each morning they wake up, they don't know whether they are alive or living or dead. They don't know whether they are being tortured. Yeah? Imagine this kind of despair. But at the same time, also parallel, they have hope. I hope that hope will win at the final end. I hope this gathering also will have a modest contribution for the release of these girls. I hope one day will come when we'll celebrate their freedom. I hope so. Thank you. I would like to thank everybody across the House of Service, across the division, across the House, actually, who helped this event organize and coordinate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.